Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Survivor's Guide to Thriving podcast. I'm Amanda Solman, and along with Mark Jewell, your host for this show and the creator of the Surviving to Thriving movement. Each week, we'll dive into the mindsets that keep us in survival mode and learn how to get on the path to a truly thriving life. If you're looking for a wake-up call and want some valuable tools to get there, you have come to the right place. After all, survival is dead. It's your time to thrive today. Now, let's head over to the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Survivor's Guide to Thriving podcast. This is your host and founder of the Surviving to Thriving movement, Mark Jewell. And today, as always, I have the lovely Amanda Solman right along with me, and she is going to be our guide through this conversation. Since she picked the topic,
Awesome.
Amanda, I'm going to let you drive. We're talking about 360 degrees of support for your employees. And so tee us up. What direction do you want us to head with this?
Yeah. So when this topic started coming to me, and I don't know, I may be making up terms for something that has a more formal name, but as we've been out talking to a lot of our clients, whether they're business owners or they're leaders, it seems like one of the topics that always seems to come up is this idea of employee retention. Now, I think we know, right, there's this stereotype around millennials, around Gen Z, they're job hoppers, man. They move all over the place. And regardless of whether that's true or not, because one thing that I found when I was doing a little research is that might not actually be totally true. But in any case, it is the stereotype that millennials and Gen Z, they move around a lot. But you're looking at retention for all of your employees. And so I still think that probably there's truth to the fact that the days of, having someone who just works for the same company their entire career probably doesn't happen anymore. But with that in mind, I think one of the questions that a lot of our clients are asking us is how do we support our employees, in a way that still helps us retain them? Even if they might go somewhere else down the road, can we get an extra year out of them, an extra 2 years, an extra 5 years? Right. But at the same time, developing people that they are proud to work with. I think most of us have seen that meme that's something like, what if we invest in our people and they leave us? And then the other guy asks, yeah, what if you don't invest in your people and they stay, right? So that's what I think we're going to talk about today is, what I'm calling 360 degree employee support. So some people who are listening might be familiar with like a 360 degree performance review. But basically we're looking at support from, kind of what I would say is 3 areas. So above, which would be your managers, your company leaders, sideways, which would be kind of peers, whether that's at your company or in the wider industry.
Sure.
And then from below. So how can we help develop direct reports that actually support their manager? Or it could even mean, clients and customers, and how do we make that a more productive relationship? So that's kind of like the 360, right? Above, sideways, below. And then I thought we might also talk about where coaching can fit into that system. So that's what I mean.
Coaching can fit into the system.
What's that? Of course we are. Yeah, exactly. So Mark, I figured you could start us off here. Yeah. And what are your thoughts? I mean, we can kind of start at the top and then go from there, but let's go wherever you think.
Yeah. Okay. So here, I'm going to start with this. This is your quote for your social media post right after this, whenever we start promoting this. It basically is this: that which you feel like you have to hold on to will eventually leave. Anything that you can't let go of will eventually leave, or that you think you can't let go of. I literally had this happen over the weekend. Somebody, Facebook messaged me and asked me, if I help people find jobs. I'm like, well, I'm not a recruiter. That's not my thing. But if I know of a great employee who's, on the market, and I know of a great company, or if it's one of my clients, I will always, always, always make that introduction. You always want to find people or help people get into the best possible situations. What I don't do is, try to help coaching clients, leave the company that's paying us to coach them and things like that. That's, in Teflon waters we don't wade in. But what, we do want to help people be in the best possible situations. But, here's the reason I brought that up is this guy literally said that, his boss has threatened him with lawsuits and like literally cutting his legs off if he decides to leave.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, like, I'm sure this is all out of context and he's joking a little bit, but there are employers who are so terrified of losing their people because they have no backup plan, they have no bench strength, there's nobody to replace that person with, that where that manager, that boss, that CEO, whatever level they are, depending on how big the company is, like if they lose that person, they know they're screwed, right? And so that puts them in a very precarious position. And so you feel like you have to keep this person, right? Or, like a lot of times it's just that the person is so friggin' valuable to the team. Like, like at the end of the day, like your life would be different. It would be much more of a challenge, going forward. Like if you decided to say, hey, tomorrow, we got on the phone like, hey, Mark, I got a great offer. This is the next best thing. Like, part of me is really happy. And part of me is like, ah, shit, now I got to figure out how to do all these things that Amanda does for me. Right. At the same time. Yet at the same rate, like my commitment to you, to anybody on our team from now until forever, until this company doesn't exist anymore, is that I want this to be working here for us, with us, is in and of itself a personal development experience, that we are all leveling up together to become that next best version of us, for whatever that looks like. And what's important about that is at some point that may mean you do something different, whether it's internal with us or something different, because, hey, I'm inspired. I want to start my own business. I want to go do my own, whatever. Great. Right? I'm ready for that. I'm mentally and physically and spiritually ready for that. May not want that necessarily right now, but I understand that we all are on our own journey and that those things are going to happen. But what that's a very different energy than if I say, like, Amanda, I can't freaking live without you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a bad freaking relationship right there. Like that sounds like we need to break up. Right? Like we can't get along without each other. And so there's very different energies in those two things. And so what I want to create, the point I'm trying to get to with this leading quote is that that which you feel like you can't let go of, right, will always eventually leave you, and probably when you're not ready for it. Mm-hmm. Right? So with that in mind, here's what I'm seeing at the corporate level. This is what's going on in the corporate America space. I'm going to start at the top. We have a lot of leaders who are so caught up in the details of the day-to-day, managing all of the what I call time overhead, right? All of the things that are sucking up your time, that you're not spending enough time investing in the coaching and the development and the working with your team. So the rule that I've been working on, and someday this will be in a book, is what I now call the 2080. Okay, not the 80-20, the 2080. What I'd love to see more CEOs, bosses, managers, division leaders, team leaders, et cetera, those that are managing at least 5 or more people, is that they are spending only 20% of their time in the detail, overhead, worky stuff. 80% of their time is invested in working on, whether it's development plans, one-to-one coaching, group coaching, working with your team, doing team stuff, whatever that looks like for you and your organization, is actually 80% of your time as a leader needs to be spent working in the development of your people so that they can do the things that need to be done, not you. And this is where I'm seeing like a lot of the overall topic is, how do we support people with a 360-degree approach? The reality is most people will never ask for that, right? I'll never ask for nobody. Your employees are not going to come up to you today and say, you know what, Amanda, I need a hug. Like, can you provide me with like the support to help me feel, valued and significant and connected, and like, can you help me find the variety that I need to have in my job, right? Can you help me experience more significant? Like, nobody's going to come up and ask you for that today, right? So it's your job as a leader to help create systems and scenarios and all the different things so that people can experience that. Nobody's going to just flat out, come up and ask for that today. So that's, in my opinion, that is the leader's job, to help create an atmosphere, an environment within which people are comfortable, maybe even asking for some of that stuff. So,
well, and I was just having a conversation about something similar with some folks the other day. As a leader, we often think, okay, so the higher up you go, yes, there's some of that day to day, but like the purpose of leadership to some extent is to be that strategic vision casting person, right? You
Yep.
should be spending time thinking about the things that those, what we call in the trenches, don't have time to think about, right? So the people who are doing the work for your clients, who are out talking to customers, like their responsibility truly is to be in the day-to-day nitty-gritty, and your job as a leader is really to kind of be a step above that, where you can think about the bigger picture, about the vision. And to me, how helping develop your people is part of that vision. I think so many leaders get caught up in the vision of the actual business, the actual selling, the actual product development, and that absolutely needs vision and strategy as well. But people development to me is part of that. That, if you're a salesperson, or you're, an account exec, right, down in the trenches, like, maybe you're thinking about your own development, but you're not
Right.
thinking about the entire team's development, but somebody one or two levels above you. Like, to me, that should be core to your responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just take this from the other angle though, right? Because we get plenty of managers, leaders, bosses, CEOs, business owners, et cetera, that say, well, I pay my people well. They should just show up and do the damn job. Right? That's kind of the other side of like, well, do I really need to provide? Do I need to invest more in them from a personal development standpoint? Shouldn't they just be able to figure that out? Right? And you know what? Let's be honest. Like, some of that is on the person, the employee, in my opinion, to be able to, kind of take the reins. Let's look at the different resources. Like, it's super easy to go out to Amazon right now and find something I want to learn more about and buy the book and have it tomorrow. Right? Mm-hmm. You can literally start that. Like, that's a thing. It's noon in the central time zone as we record this. Okay. It's lunchtime. It would be really easy, for you. In fact, you know what? We have like 10 people sitting here watching, taking in some personal development as we record this live on Facebook right now, right? There's an opportunity to go and learn something all the time. There's YouTube is free, unless you get the upgraded, $13.99 a month version, which is great, by the way. I use it every day. But here's the thing. Like, there's tons of free content out there. You can literally learn anything on the YouTube. And if using it enough between now and the end of the year, you could have the equivalent of a 4-year degree just from YouTube and any topic under the sun, right? So there's plenty of opportunity for people to do that. But within the environment, within the context of work, if you're the leader who's basically saying, hey, I pay my people an $80,000 base salary, a $50,000 base salary, or whatever the number is, and plus they have opportunity to earn profit or commission or incentives or whatever, and they've got benefits, and they should just show up and do the job. Yes, this was the mentality that we sort of used for a long time. Okay. And I'm questioning, like, was it really working that well in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? Like, was that, like, I get like what we created and that helped, bring workplaces to where they are today. But here's the deal. Okay. What we know is that the workplaces that we have today, which by the way, are a product and byproducts of the mentality of how we've run organizations up until this point. Work in America, I was just reading this in a book over the weekend. Work in America is the number one source of stress for people. Okay. When you have stress at work, when you have stress in your body, what your body's literally doing is pushing cortisol through your veins, into your muscles, into your body tissue. Cortisol, right? Which is literally, when you get this, when you think about what is cortisol for in the human body, cortisol is a biochemical, whatever, hormone in the body that literally causes you to feel the feeling of stress. Like, your shoulders get tight, your jaw gets tense, you may develop a headache, maybe even a migraine, right? You start to do things with your hands, you get fidgety. Why? Because your body is literally telling you, this is stressful. You should stop doing this now. You should change directions now. You should do something differently, or whatever, get the same thing done, but do it differently. That is what's happening. And so work environments typically are not, they're literally created or built to help you just push through. That's the expectation. Push through it, get over it, get past it. What we're finding now is the long-term effects of cortisol in the body when it's present day in and day out, especially in a stressful work environment, is that it has negative effects on arthritis. It actually it inflames the joints and it causes arthritis to get worse faster. It has a negative impact on your heart. Okay, so it actually causes heart issues, and we're doing this, by the way. So we're expecting people to just push through and get the job done because that's what we do. It's that kind of idea. This that kind of mentality, and what happens as a result when we do only that is work is literally killing people. We are literally creating work environments that are toxic for people to get stuff done. So I think there's a time and a place where it's appropriate. We're like, hey, let's go grab our pitchforks. Let's get stuff done. Let's get shit, let's make shit happen and get it done, right? If that's getting beyond 20% of your time though, for you or for any of your people, I'll just say this. I think you're creating a toxic work environment. I don't care how good it is. I don't care how profitable you are. I don't care what you think your people think of you. Okay? You're creating a work environment that is not optimally designed for the human body and the mind and the spirit to thrive at work.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons too, well, I guess let me back up. As you were talking about that, and I was kind of thinking about the idea of support, I think that shifting that mindset from, I give them a paycheck so they should do to something else is really important. And as you were talking, I was actually thinking about work as a relationship, right? Manager to employee, like that's a relationship. Leadership to employees is a relationship. Now think about the other relationships you have in your life. If you're a parent and you approach that parent-child relationship as I put a roof over your head, I put meals on the table, what else do you want from me? I mean, we probably all know some parents like that. The relationship there is not super awesome. Think of your spousal or significant other relationship. Right. If you're like, I contribute money to this household to make it run, what else do you want from me? Like, also probably not a super good relationship. So the fact that we often take that mindset in the workplace from a leadership standpoint is kind of mind-blowing, that we say, I give you money, what else do you want from me? And then we wonder why people don't give us the performance we need. Like, It's a relationship, the same as anything else, and it requires more than just transaction.
Agreed.
So in that context, I think you can start to see where the perspective might need to shift. So I'm curious, Mark, as you look at clients we've worked with or, even other companies we haven't worked with, but maybe you've read about or watched videos about, what are some examples of how leaders and managers truly are supporting their people really effectively?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. So, one of the books that I was reading over the weekend literally is called, Dying for a Paycheck. And it's on this whole topic of, we've created stressful workplaces where people literally are just not being healthy, killing themselves at work, creating workplace violence, things like that, because we have less than optimal work environments. So a really good example of one that is outside that realm, a company called Aetna, which is a health insurance company, AETNA. What the CEO there took a different tack here about 20 years ago, early 2000s. He was in a skiing accident, very badly injured, and that changed his perspective on life. Okay. So he has led that company in very different directions. So one of the things, we teach, obviously, in our programs, we talk about meditation, why you should do it, how you should do it. We try to provide examples and experience in that realm. And, sometimes that's kind of one of those things that's hard for people. It's really hard for people to just shut things off mentally and sort of breathe for 5 minutes. And that's all you need. 5 minutes a day, to start off, like just get quiet with yourself. But that was something that they had actually created inside of that company as kind of a norm. And obviously not everybody opts in, right? It's a minority of the population within the company, but they have noticed some incredible benefits. In fact, for those that participate in just that little thing, and that's not the only thing they do, but in that one task and just taking some time at work to get quiet with yourself, meditate, they're noticing a 40% overall reduction in workplace stress, right? And by the way, not just workplace, all of life. So they're studying the company, studying Aetna, companies like Aetna, and they're noticing how you actually have a reduction in stress just by taking 5-10 minutes a day to get every company in America ought to be adopting that exact same philosophy, because if your people are less stressed, guess what they are?
More productive.
They're more productive, which makes you more profitable. So it makes sense, right? Literally, it makes dollars and cents to have people getting quiet inside their cubicle or their room or their office or whatever. for a little bit each and every day. So that's just one area. There's another statistic that basically says that there's a meta-analysis done on I think there's like 32 different pieces of research that all basically point to for every dollar a company invests in wellness programs. Okay, so for every dollar that you invest in a wellness program for your company, for your people, there's a $3.27 savings in overall healthcare related cost over time. 327, right? I mean, man, like it should almost be required. I was just talking about this. We were talking about this earlier. So, we obviously a lot of you watching, a lot of you listening, and a lot of our clients are agriculture related. If we could make the dollars and cents work out, where if it literally, if there was a evidence that on a dairy farm, a cow who walks a little bit further every day, right? That spent some time exercising every day, if she produced more milk, if there was a evidence that chickens on a treadmill or something like that would would have a better rate of gain, or they would lay more eggs or whatever. Okay, and we could actually make a case for the dollars and cents for how that works out. We would start installing those tomorrow. If it was $1.10 return for every dollar invested, we would find a way to start installing those things in barns all over America. We would do it. Why? How do we know this? We know it's true because we already know that nutrition in our livestock in America is at least 40 years ahead of where human nutrition is in America. Why? Because that's what keeps you in business, right? It's a low margin business to begin with. So you track every dime, you track every ounce of feed that goes into an animal. Yet knowing what you know about nutrition, knowing what we know about nutrition, we don't pay the same amount of attention to our people, right? And it's an obvious question, but if you got an employee who sucks down a stack of Pringles and a bologna sandwich over the lunch hour plus a Mountain Dew, like at 3:00 in the afternoon, what is that employee more or less productive than the person who had a salad and went for a walk, right? I mean, we know the answers to these questions, but we friggin' ignore it, right? So to bring it back and hopefully to round out this part of the podcast today on like executives and what can you do. Number one is in my opinion is to wake up and see what's going on. Like literally look around you and what environment are you creating around your workplace. If you're in the mindset right now, here's a little self check for you. If you're looking around at your employees and you're a little bit disgusted about the level of energy, about the level of engagement, about where they're at, you need to step up and take some responsibility and understand that that's on you. The environment that you're creating is on you. Now, can your people step up and do more things? Could they be better? Can they choose? Yeah, absolutely. But the question is, what evidence have you provided in your environment that says they should? That's a hard question for you to take a look at right now. So what evidence are you providing? What leadership, what inspiration are you providing to your people that says they ought to step up? They ought to invest more in their health. They ought to invest more in their mindset. They ought to invest more in their spirituality, whatever that looks like for you in your company or in yourself. What are you doing? Are they seeing you? People tend to not do necessarily what you say all the time. They're going to do what they see you do. So what's going on? We just talked, Wade got on our huddle, last Thursday morning or Friday morning. He was down to 222 pounds from 250 when he started working here not quite 2 years ago. Right now, this is not like weight loss is not a requirement to work for me. Right?
Thank goodness.
I've never once said to any of you like, hey, you guys need to get to the gym or else, right? No, what we teach it, and everybody, that's part of the environment. You see me doing it. Everybody knows that, Mark's usually going to the gym either early in the morning or somewhere between 8 and 9. And that's probably where he is if you can't get a hold of him. And so, we just make that a part of what we do. It's part of the environment, and everybody just sort of steps up. They recognize they feel better, they're more productive. And I'm not saying, oh, hey, Amanda, like you're going to feel like shit today because you didn't go to the gym this morning. Like, no, nobody does that. Like, that's not something we ever say. It's just a matter of like, this is what we live and this is what we breathe. And this brings me to my second thing that as a leader, I think you need to do that you probably get to do if you want to create a better environment. And that is go all in on you, double down, triple down, quadruple down on you. The people around you will respond. This is not something you do today and you get immediate response tomorrow. This is something you do today, tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, every single freaking day from now until forever. This is a forever game. You continue to do these things, and here's what you're going to find. In about 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, all of a sudden, you'll just notice automatically that people have leveled up around you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You will notice that people will start to level up around you. They're going to want to be around somebody who's more energetic, who's happier, who's healthier, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do those things, and the people around you will start to respond. They can't help it because everybody wants ultimately what's best. The other thing that will happen as you start to level that up is sometimes you'll actually expel or repel people that don't need to or don't want to be a part of that. Also, right? So you'll sometimes have people that leave teams, and we're trying to help you keep your people, but sometimes like you got the wrong people in the environment to begin with, and so if they're not willing to level up, they might need to just level out and get out of the place, right? And that gives you room to have more people, to bring in more people that do fit that culture that you're trying to create, and that's good. Right. So some turn and some churn is good. And as you create, define that culture for your team, for your business, for your company, whatever, as you define that and start to live that each and every day, like that will eventually level out. And you'll start to have the right kind of people that want to be a part of what you've got going on. One of the things I guess that I'm most proud of, to brag a little bit, I can't think of a week that's gone by in 2018 where we haven't had somebody reach out to us either via email, messenger, text, whatever, and say, Mark, how do I come work for you? I literally, I think every week this year I have a list of people, like 18 people long right now, of people that have wanted to be a part of what we've got going on. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, I'm bragging. And I'll tell you this, it's 5 years of commitment for sticking to my guns, with culture being the primary thing that I'm trying to create here. Like, we will defend our culture at all costs. That's it. So let's go to the next one, because I do want to talk about so how do you create those peer systems? Because that's an important piece too. This is something we would not be having this conversation if I didn't have this in my life. I know that for sure. And so I'd love to talk about that. And you just went to a little mastermind adventure last week with you and some of your girlfriends. So talk a little bit about what that was all about and what you guys did and why you do it, I guess.
Yeah, I have had so many places in my career where the peer support, I don't know that we always think of it as support, right? I think, when it comes to management and employee support, we think of that top-down relationship between leaders and employees. So all the things you talked about, plus, open and transparent communication and providing opportunities and working within your strengths, right? We always think of those from a management standpoint, in a top-down kind of framework. But I will say in my career, those parallel relationships have been absolutely critical to my personal development, at least. To have those people within your company who are there in the trenches with you, right? They were at that meeting with the client. They know what it was like, or they're new too. And so they're struggling with the same things you're struggling with. I think that's something we hear particularly in our Millennial Mastermind program, although it shows up in the other programs as well. But that idea that I'm here with people who are about the same experience level as me, and holy crap, I'm not alone. I'm also struggling with situation X, Y, and Z. And so having those people, I think, is critical too. Yeah. For me, I look at it both within your company and outside of your company. So, I've been on teams where I've got peers who are similar experience or similar position to me, who I found critical. But I've actually, gone outside of the company to find kind of that peer group as well. You mentioned I'm part of a mastermind group. You're part of a mastermind group, right? And the kind of cool thing about mastermind groups is you can sort of tailor them to what sort of development you're looking for yourself. So Mark, I know you're in one that's, a lot of business owners, small business entrepreneurs, that sort of thing, because that provides a kind of common ground perspective. the mastermind group I'm in is a group of all women, we all working in agribusiness to some extent, but a lot of us work from home or own our own business. So like we have that unique perspective in this industry, and so the kind of cool thing about mastermind groups is it's peer support, but it also is peers who are pushing you to be better, right? This is not just the friends you go to the bar with on Friday night, although if you do that with your mastermind or your work peer group, that's cool too. But like sometimes you can create peer groups that are really there to drive you forward, not just to, kind of powwow about the things that you're experiencing at the same time.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think any group like that should be something that is, maybe helping create some accountability for you, that helps push you further, faster, that you can go to confide in. One of the big things for me where my mastermind group is so important for me is that until I had one, I was assuming that nobody could be screwing this up as badly as I was. Mm-hmm. Right? That was like, I was certain that nobody was screwing this up as badly as I was, quite frankly. And this is what we find with a lot of our coaching clients, right? So salespeople, managers, leaders, et cetera, Thriving Leader and our Army program, anybody who comes through, one of the biggest assumptions, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I see people making in the corporate space, is they're assuming that they're screwing it up and everybody else is getting it right. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's one of the big things. And so peer groups basically help you realize that you're not the only idiot who's out here like screwing this up and doing as badly as you think you are. In fact, you're probably not doing it nearly as badly as you think you are. Like, I know that I've made some like really terrible decisions over time. And so sometimes like when I get in a funk, I'll be beating myself up like, why'd you do that? Why'd you commit to that? Why'd you spend that money? Da, 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 da. And then I'll go to my mastermind group and I find somebody who's done it 10 times worse than me. And I'm like, okay, we can make it. We're going to get through this, and that's the reality, is like, there's always somebody else who's also experiencing what you're going through. Like, I know you're special and I know you're unique and all that good stuff, but not that special and not that unique. Okay, like, let's be honest.
Well, and I think that's something that, and you'll kind of hear us trickle in things about coaching throughout, but I think that's one thing about why we choose to structure our coaching programs the way we do, which might be different from other coaches out there who primarily deal in the one-on-one coaching space. And not that, we do some one-on-one coaching, but in most of our programs, we really do structure it more in a small group setting to create that mastermind effect. Right. Because, we as coaches obviously have perspective and advice and ways to think about things. But, we haven't run in your job specifically. And so in some cases, some of our small groups are people who have been in very similar positions to you and can share some of that experience. And so we try to build in that. That's literally the reason it's called Millennial Mastermind, is to create that network of folks. So the other place too, though, that I think you can get some of that I always encourage folks, and I guess I'm always kind of surprised to run into people who don't do this, but is to get out in the industry networking with folks. So some of it will be purely professional, right? Learning what job opportunities are out there, learning what companies are available in your space. But my personal experience has been that some of those networking opportunities have really turned into deeper connections. So, I was really involved in the National Agri-Marketing Association, through college and then into my professional career. And I've met several people who, I might never have met otherwise, and we continue to communicate through those professional organizations. So obviously we work a lot in agribusiness. So whether that's, your farm bureau, your corn growers, your cattlemen, pick your industry organization, because trust me, our industry is full of professional and networking and, commodity and advocacy organizations. If you're not involved in those, I really think you're missing out on an opportunity to create that peer support network that you might not be exposed to just within your company.
Yeah. Beautiful. All of those are great. Just pick something, right? If you're feeling like you're lacking in some way, or you need some greater accountability, you're feeling a lack of connection, especially at work, like, don't sit around and wait for work to create that